Good morning, CK. I want to thank Principal Hurry and Ms. Prince for allowing me to speak during the Black History Month celebration. This is the 20th anniversary of the novel of Brownstone in Brooklyn, and it's the first of a trilogy, and a trilogy of 3 novels in a row. Now, Brownstone in Brooklyn takes place in the 60s, Philly Style and Philly Profile takes place in the 70s, and the Ghodt of Atlanta takes place in the 80s. And I started the journey of writing these 3 books in 1995, and I finished the last one in 2011. So it's a trilogy. It takes a long time. It's 3 books in a row. And what it is the journey of a character named Andy Michael Pilgrim. And I picked that name because pilgrim means pilgrimage. That's someone who's on a journey, And he's on a journey where he discovers hopes, dreams, fears that makes us human. This is the award for the Ghodt of Atlanta, which is a national award, and it's given by Reader's Favorite, which is a national organization. And it beat out, this is Ghodt of Atlanta, it beat out 200 other books. And the award was given in Miami, Florida, at the Miami Book Fair International, which I was able to speak there. Also was nominated for Georgia Author of the Year for the 3 books. You know, unfortunately didn't win, but it was pretty good. What I want to do today is, because of the time frame, is just to read a little excerpt from each book. Now, each book can be read separately, or they can be read in order. So it doesn't matter how you want to do it. But I've had students read it, and it's been read from people from all ages, The first book is A Brownstone in Brooklyn. And what it does, it takes place in the 60s, and all the events of the turbulent 60s, and how it changed Black America, how it changed America itself. And this is about a young man who's just in high school, going to college. And I know you've seen the Eye the Prize and other things. Well, I was there when the riots happened. I was sitting in the apartment in Brooklyn looking out as buildings burned. So I wanted to get this picture of what it was like. But I also want to show that in Brooklyn at that time, there was a lot of people who were family. And they had a family attitude. And this excerpt is from chapter 7. And it's about a character named Sister Love. And one of the things that about Brownstone that people like is that it has a carnival of characters that are very different. And when you create a book, you want to make so that people really in touch with your character. They want to feel empathy for the character. What I mean, they want to feel something from the character that they can really see in themselves. So this is from chapter 7. Sister Love is headed to work. And it says, and this is from the mid part of the chapter. The most special times in a person's life are not meant to last forever. They are like bubbles rising from a plastic ring dipped into a soapy solution. The soap bubbles rise, the sun flashing brilliant colors, and then burst into a showering memory mist. From her bus window, Sister Love watched the little kids running in the spring breeze, making bubbles and rise and fall. They giggled and pranced around an imaginary pole. She watched as the bus turned the corner to the street that would take her to downtown Brooklyn. She thought about her family, which she called her neighbors, who lived in the Brownstone. Even when she had drinking binges, she had people looking out for her. She smiled when she thought about the time she staggered up the steps and sat down at a kitchen table when there was a knock at the door. As she opened the door, there stood Andy Pilgrim. Sister Love, I found your hair on the stairs and thought you might have misplaced it. Andy kept a straight face as he handed the wig to his rightful owner. Sister Love closed the door, let out a big, brassy laugh that scared her husband, and she screamed, "Go back to sleep." She thought about these things as she rode the bus to downtown Brooklyn, Fulton Street, and it brought back a reality. She looked, saw the Brooklyn Fox movie theater, and knew it should near work. She also realized there was a change coming, and you could feel it in the air. From the 60s, the character moved to the 70s and Philadelphia. And that's Philly style and Philly profile. And it deals with gangs and drugs, which ruined urban America during that particular time. And in Philly style and Philly profile, it talks about a basketball player and what he had to get through to get out of the situation. Philly streets were never silent. Gang wars on corners, screeching cars on avenues, and squealing steel trolley tires on tracks kept you alert for the next confrontation. Philadelphia playgrounds were sometimes silent. They were also noisy, but most of the time they were empty. In this opening prologue, the character named Walter Chandler is headed to meet something, and it's not pleasant. So I warn you, it's not pleasant. Walter Chandler's legs pump like automobile engine pistons as he dodges the occasional newspaper stand with the owner holding out the late afternoon copy of the Philadelphia Bulletin. He squints in the glare of the late afternoon sun that streams through spaces between the iron beams supporting the platform. Walter dodges groups of people getting on and off regular scheduled L trains coming from Center City, the inner part of Philadelphia. Walter reaches the stairs to the concourse, and then the long corridor that leads to the platform of the high-speed line that carries commuters to Norristown. Walter evades two old ladies who are not watching what is going on around them. He peers down the passageway, sees the 409 train, and picks up speed. He hears the conductor yell, "Pull out of here. If I don't hustle, I won't reach the train. I can't be late." He leaps into the high-speed car and sits there and dreams. As he pulls into Norristown, he goes to the First Pennsylvania Bank, and there's a safe deposit box. Walter puts the letter in the box, closes it, locks it, and smiles at the bank teller, who gives him the lockbox key. He walks away from the vault of the bank toward the front entrance. Walter steps out of the bank door. He stares straight ahead across the street to the pawn shop. There's the black and orange sign that advertises discount prices on gold, silver, electronic equipment. The lockbox key feels good in the palm of his hand. He doesn't see the deuce in a quarter. Walter's foot touches the pavement. The car bumper sends his body reeling back onto the sidewalk. The force of the car knocks the lockbox key, and it makes a jingling noise as it bounces off the sidewalk curb and into the gutter. His body rests against the steps of the bank. Spectators gather. Walter looks up, closes his eyes as the late afternoon sunlight washes over his lifeless body. And the Philly style is more about, and it's really good, it's going to be, a screenplay is written, and it's with a producer now. And they're trying to figure out what they want to do with it. Are they going to make it related to today, or are they going to talk about the 70s? So I'm interested to see how they approach. Those things could take years, but it is with a producer now. And of the three books, it's probably the most movie-oriented book because of the action and people like murder, mayhem, killing, and everything. The third book is called The Ghodt of Atlanta. And this is the third decade of the same character. And what it talks about, some of the ghosts are real, some of them are really ghosts. But you have to figure out what they are. And as you read, you will get a more insight. I wrote this book when I was teaching at Redan High School. And one of my students, like you, I said, you know what, I need me a poem to reflect what I want to write in the book. And I told her about the book. Her name is Nisi Barber. She does a lot of different things now. She has poems out. She has lyrics out. And this is what she wrote. And it's called Walk Through Pain. I see you walk through pain, not caring about the day or even the night. I see you take long strides, not even caring. I see you walk through pain. This is from chapter 2. When the human heart freezes, tears will not flow. This thought kept repeating over and over in Andy's mind. It was a truism his grandmother had instilled in him when he was a little boy, watching his parents constantly fussing and fighting. During that time, Andy never cried. There had been occasions of a brief thawing of emotion, most recently when he visited Statham in his life. Those crying episodes had been rare. Most of his life, all these emotions had been frozen in his heart. Niecy Barber, a young Redan High School poet, was right when she wrote about walking through pain. There was pain all around him now, some pain he didn't have any control over. Andy left Athens, headed for Bush Chapel in Wyandotte. The afternoon sun glistened over Horton Street and washed over the graveyard in front of the church and flowed into the small African-American community. After talking with Miss Jackson, his thoughts were slinging further back in time. He heard the train whistle in the distance as the afternoon freight train sped through Wyandotte. And he walked down the path that led through the Bush Chapel community of the dead. He was in a dreamlike state. In his mind, he was in Brooklyn, then in Philadelphia, then back in Wyandotte. His mind kept jumping from place to place, keeping him in this state as he turned around and looked back at Bush Chapel Church. He was in the present, but the past and the ghosts there kept chasing him further, deeper into his past. It was like a phantom, carrying his mind and body to different points in his life, then depositing him into painful situations. He was nervous, yet a presence kept him from succumbing. Andy walked until he found his best friend Raymond's grave. Beside Fred, Raymond was the only other person he could have talked to in Broward County. He sat down, put his hands over his face, and lost himself in his thoughts. He saw Wyandotte the 60s, vision of him coming home from school and walking through Bush Chapel Cemetery to his house. Those graphic details from his past seemed as if he was living them all over again. His memories were painful, and he saw his life at Bush Chapel as he peeked in the window, visual images of himself sitting at the kitchen table as Golda told him of her plans to leave Georgia to take the family to Brooklyn. His mother said, "I'm clean, but I live in a dirty house." Thank you for your attention. Now I'll answer questions about the trilogy and the writing process, and for you who want to become writers. Everyone here has stories to tell. I know some of you. And don't be afraid to write. Get them out. Whether you write books, novels, short stories. I started just like you in high school. I had a teacher, her name was Miss Egan. And I was scared, I was nervous, and I asked her, "I want to write." And she looked at me and just said 2 words, "Do it." And never stopped. Don't let anybody tell you what you can't do, what you cannot do.
Does anybody have a question, Mr. Thompson? You used a couple pieces of vocabulary there, and I'm not sure. Does everybody know what a screenplay is? Y'all know what that is? Raise your hand if you know what screenplay is. Tell us what a screenplay is. What do you think? Is that correct?
It's
So explain that to them.
well, what it is, a
screenplay.
screenplay. How many people go to the movies, see a movie? Right, well, a screenplay is what you hear, the words you hear. So when you write a screenplay, you're writing for the movies, so it's not like a novel. Like I was telling Ms. Brown earlier, you have to write in like day, night, external, internal, outside, inside. You have to set the tone for what you see on the screen. Fade in. At a movie, you see what scenes fade in, it gets dark and come back up again. That's called fade in and fade out. So when you write a screenplay, you take a novel, which I did in Philly, and then you got to transport that into the play.
All right. So we had a book.